Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Drew Smith from Elon University. We're bringing you special coverage tonight of the election of 2010. Let's start with the U.S. Senate showdown here in North Carolina. Of the ballots counted already tonight, incumbent Richard Burr leads Democrat Elaine Marshall with 56% of the votes. Libertarian candidate Michael Beitler has 2% of the vote. Phoenix 14 is live this evening from both headquarters. David Hodges is in Winston-Salem with Senator Burr, and Julie Morse has been with the Marshall camp all day. Let's start with you, David. Senator Burr has been declared the winner and has given his victory speech. David, what's going on down in Winston?
Well, there's still a lot of supporters standing around and celebrating the victory. Senator Burr just got done making his rounds to the crowd, thanking his supporters and his voters. I talked to some of the supporters about why they think it is that he was reelected. One woman said that she feels like he's one of us, one of the people. Another couple said that he's just very accessible. It's often that they see him out of the grocery store and it's easy to talk to him. Well, everyone here was glad tonight to see him up on stage giving a speech of victory. In his speech, he did say one thing of note that I found interesting, that America never quits, never gives up, and never accepts that our best days are behind us. It's a feeling that many people are now feeling is becoming a reality as the recovery is taking time to shore up. But Senator Burr did promise he would go to Washington to fix that problem. In Winston-Salem, David Hodges, back to you, Drew.
From Winston-Salem tonight, thank you. Again, Republican incumbent Senator Richard Burr has been declared the winner in the race for U.S. Senate. According to the Alamance County Board of Elections, Burr leads with 55% of the votes. Democrat Elaine Marshall trails him with 43% of the votes, and the Libertarian candidate Beitler has 2%. To give a bit of context, voters in the state can vote for these candidates in one of two ways. The first is the traditional way, voting for the candidate specifically. The second is through straight party voting. In North Carolina, voters have the option to vote straight party for the Democratic, Republican, or Libertarian Party candidates. So far in the state, more than 600,000 people have used the straight party option. 49% of them are Republican, 50% are Democrat, and 1% for the Libertarian candidate. Julie Morse has been following the Marshall campaign and is in Raleigh this evening. Julie, what is the feeling with supporters of the Marshall camp? Julie.
Elaine Marshall started her speech tonight by thanking all of those who helped her get this far. She acknowledged the disappointment of her followers, but she said even though they came up short tonight, she will continue to fight for job creation, consumers, and small businesses. She also said she will continue to fight for the state of North Carolina. Some supporters expected a win, others are a little less surprised, but despite that, the mood of the room is still upbeat. People are still mingling, and they seem like they're going to you on the studio.
Both Julie and David later in the show. Now to the U.S. House races. Let's see if that's the case in North Carolina, if the Republicans have taken the state legislature here. Let's start with the 6th District in Alamance and Guilford counties, where Republican incumbent Howard Coble is opposed by Democrat Sam Turner. Right now, according to the State Board of Election, Coble leads Turner with 76%. Now in Alamance County's 13th District, Democrat incumbent Brad Miller was facing off against Republican Bill Randall. Miller has held on to the seat with 55% of the vote. In the 12th District of Guilford and Forsyth counties, with Democrat incumbent Mel Watt opposed by Republican Greg Doherty and Libertarian Lon Cecil, Watts has a strong lead on both his opponents to 67% of the votes. And lastly, in Forsyth's 5th District, Republican Virginia Fox leads Billy Kennedy with 65% of the vote, with 2 of 12 counties reporting. It was predicted that Republicans nationwide would regain a majority in the House of Representatives, and it appears as though they have. According to the New York Times, of the 435 available seats, 117 are confirmed Republican tonight, and 68 will be held by Democrats. Still, 250 seats are undecided. A shift in the makeup of Congress could have implications for the way in which policy is approached. I'd like to bring in our panelists tonight. To continue the discussion. To my right, students Andrew Cordisco and Chaz Smith. They are both students here at Elon. Let's start with Andrew. Will this majority shift have an effect on policy in Washington?
Oh, absolutely. The Democrats are going to have to relook how they're going to approach building a consensus on some of these issues. First of all, being cap and trade. Second of all, health care. We'll see if the Republicans come up. I don't see a full just scrapping of all the health care provision, because it doesn't really look like the Senate is going to the Democrats, and plus you still have to deal with an Obama veto on anything drastic. So yes, it's a big deal in terms of policy. Some of the agenda setting, the presumed new speaker, Boehner, will definitely have a different agenda than Nancy Pelosi. But I don't see a huge change in policy, just kind of just really an approach to policy more as than actual topics being discussed.
Chaz, what's your take?
I think that the Republicans will probably take over the House, but it's going to definitely change the dynamics in Washington. The Republicans have to take a leadership position. in the House, probably not in the Senate. They're going to be able to set the agenda, but they've also made a lot of promises to their voters, and their feet are going to be held to the fire, and they're going to have to perform, or in 2 years it could switch right back. And I think it's important to keep this election in context because since 1870, in the midterm elections, the president's party has lost an average of 37 seats every year. So, including in '94 when with the Republican Revolution, the Republicans lost over 50, or the Democrats lost over 50 seats, and that changed back less than a decade later. So I think it's important to understand what these losses will mean. I think it could be a very good thing for Obama in some ways because it'll keep the Republicans accountable.
And I mean, there has been a struggle for President Obama to get some things done with a Democratic Congress. Is it going to be even more hard for the president with a Republican-controlled House of Representatives?
Not necessarily. I saw the issues with Obama's agenda was he was overplaying his mandate more so that he didn't have the numbers. He thought that the American people were saying, we like your agenda, whereas I feel that Obama's coalition of voters were very young. They liked Obama. They didn't necessarily care about their congressman or their senator or the issues that they were trying to bring to Washington. And I think when they actually started to govern, the times change. And I think that's going to happen with the Republicans. These new Republicans are going to go into Washington. As Chad said, they promised a lot. And government doesn't happen overnight. It's a very slow process. And it'll be interesting to see how they govern as opposed to how they campaign. They're obviously a good bunch of campaigners, but whether they're good governors, it really remains to be seen.
And Chaz, what the next 2 years, do you think anything is going to get done up on Capitol Hill?
I think what you'll see is if the Republicans have to take control, they say that John Boehner's stated very clearly that there will be no compromise on a lot of these issues. But they've really come out to saying they want to cut the deficit, they want to cut the debt. But these issues are enormously difficult to deal with. They've already filibustered a bipartisan deficit commission in the Senate. Obama has kind of overridden that and made his own bipartisan commission. There's going to be a lot of solutions on the table, and if they get nothing done in 2 years, it could easily be another shift right back to the Democrats. So I think they're going to have to be held accountable. They're going to have to be held to their word, and if they don't, it's going to be to their disadvantage in the end.
All right, thanks to our panelists. We'll check in with you guys in a little bit later on in our newscast. Moving from national to state Senate races, here are the results in contested races for North Carolina State Senate. Let's start with Alamance County's 24th District. Democrat incumbent Tony Forrest was facing Republican Rick Gunn and Libertarian candidate Barry Coe. With 52% of the vote, Rick Gunn leads incumbent Tony Forrest. Forrest has 44% of the votes and Libertarian Coe with 4%. In Guilford County's 27th District, Democrat incumbent Don Vaughn is facing Republican Jeff Hyde. According to the State Board of Elections, Vaughn leads with 58% of the vote to hold on to the 27th District seat in the state Senate. The 28th District seat is open, and Democrat Gladys Robinson, Republican Trudy Wade, and Independent Bruce Davis are hoping to fill it. Robinson leads with 52% of the vote, Wade trails with 37% of the votes, and David has 11%. Lastly, in Forsyth County, the District 32 seat in the state Senate was between Democrat incumbent Linda Garou and Republican Tea Partier Nathan Jones. Garou leads with 69% of the vote to hold her seat in the state Senate. Now to the House of Representatives. In Alamance County's District 63, Democrat incumbent Alice Bordston is opposed by Republican Kirk Parker. Bordston leads with 53% of the vote to serve another term in the State House. Now moving to Guilford County, the 57th District, between Democrat incumbent Mary Harrison and Republican John Hardster. Harrison leads with 55%. Her opponent John Hardster currently has 45% of the vote. In Guilford's 62nd District, Republican incumbent John Blust is facing Democrat Jeffrey Simon. With 86% of the vote, Blust has a substantial lead over his opponent, who has 14% of the vote. We're also following two state house races in Forsyth County. The first is District 72, between incumbent Elaine Parmon and Republican John McGee. Parmon leads with 70% to hold her seat in the State House. And lastly, in the 74th District, Republican incumbent Dave Falwell is opposed by Democrat Christina Vazquez. Falwell leaves with 67%. His opponent has the other 33%. Now moving to the contested county commissioner races in Alamance and Forsyth counties. First in Alamance County, according to DigTriad.com, Republican Bill Lashley and Republican Tim Sutton currently lead in the five-way race for the two four-year county commissioner positions. And for the 1 2-year Alamance County Commissioner position, Republican Tom Manning leads Democrat and Elon grad Jeremy Teeter. Now in Forsyth County, the at-large commissioner seat was between Democrat incumbent Ted Kaplan and Republican Bill Whiteheart. According to Dig Triad, these two candidates are in a tie, each with 50% of the vote. Now to the District A commissioner position between Democrat incumbent Walker Marshall and Republican Everett Witherspoon. With 57%, Marshall leads to hold his position as county commissioner. And the District B between Democrat incumbent Stan Dean and Republican Deborah Conrad. Conrad has 63% of the vote and leads the incumbent Stan Dean for the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners. More updates, results, and updates on that U.S. Senate showdown between Marshall and Burr, plus our panelists weigh in on student engagement and overall thoughts on tonight's results. Elon University's Phoenix 14 News will be back on the CW20.